I'm 79 years old as I say this, and I live alone now. Not in a dramatic way, just quiet. Too quiet, most days.
I'm 79 years old. The house still stands, the walls still do their job, but something essential left years ago, and I was slow to notice it was gone. I lost my marriage after 32 years because I thought there would always be more time. That's the sentence I keep coming back to. I don't say it for sympathy. I say it because it's the most accurate way to describe what happened. Not because I didn't care, not because I was cruel, but because I delayed everything that mattered until it was too late. At this age, time feels different. It doesn't stretch forward anymore. It gathers behind you. You start counting what's left without meaning to. Mornings feel borrowed, nights feel final, and certain memories come back uninvited, especially the ordinary ones, the ones I dismissed while they were happening. I'm telling this because I don't have much reason not to anymore. There's no reputation left to protect, no marriage to preserve, no future version of myself to impress. There's just what happened and what I understand now, sitting here with it. When I was younger, I didn't think of myself as someone who would lose his marriage. We weren't reckless people. We didn't shout much. We paid our bills. We raised our children. From the outside, it looked stable, respectable, long-lasting. I thought that was enough. I met my wife in my mid-20s. She was patient in a way I didn't fully appreciate then. She listened carefully. She remembered small things. I was drawn to that steadiness. It felt like safety. We married after a few years when everything still felt possible and open-ended. The early years were busy but warm. Small apartment, cheap furniture, shared jokes that only made sense to us. We didn't have much money, but we had time, or at least that's what it felt like. Even then, though, I was already trading pieces of that time away without thinking much about it. Work came first, not because I loved it, but because it felt necessary. I told myself I was building something for us, stability, security, a future that would eventually slow down and make room for everything else. I didn't see it as avoidance, I saw it as responsibility. She didn't object at first. She understood the hours, the stress, the way I'd come home tired and distracted. She adjusted around me. That should have told me something, but I took it as support, as permission. We had children. Life filled up quickly. School schedules, dinner routines, weekend errands. I was present in the technical sense. I showed up. I provided. I sat at the table. But I was often elsewhere in my head, already thinking about the next thing that needed doing. When she tried to talk, I listened halfway. I told myself I'd give her my full attention later, when things calmed down, when work eased up, when the kids were older, when we weren't so tired. There was always a later. It felt endless. There were moments I remember now with uncomfortable clarity. Her asking if we could take a short trip together, just the two of us. Me saying, not right now. Her mentioning how quiet the house felt even when we were both there. Me brushing it off, saying we were just busy. Her waiting for me to finish something so we could talk, and me saying, can we do this tomorrow? Tomorrow became a habit. I didn't think I was neglecting her. I thought I was postponing things. That's an important distinction. Neglect feels intentional.
Postponement feels harmless, temporary. It lets you sleep at night. Years passed like that, not in big chunks, in days, in routines, in small decisions that always leaned in the same direction, toward work, toward obligation, away from stillness, away from sitting with her without a reason. She grew quieter. I noticed, but I didn't stop. I assumed it was a phase, or exhaustion, or something she'd work through. I didn't ask the right questions, and I didn't sit long enough to hear answers I might not like. We celebrated anniversaries. We took photos. We smiled for family gatherings. I told myself that longevity meant health. 30 years together must mean we were doing something right. I mistook duration for depth. The distance didn't arrive all at once. It crept in. Conversations shortened. Touch became functional. We coordinated life instead of sharing it. I still believed we had time to fix whatever was slightly off. I just didn't know when I planned to start. The turning point didn't come with shouting or betrayal. It came quietly, which somehow made it worse. One evening, she told me she felt lonely even when I was sitting next to her. She said it calmly, no accusation, just a statement. I remember nodding, saying I understood, saying we'd work on it. I believed that, I truly did, but I didn't change anything afterward. Understanding without action became another way of delaying. A year later, she told me she wanted to separate, not angrily, not suddenly. She said she had already grieved the marriage while still inside it. That sentence landed heavily even then. I just didn't know how heavy it would become. I asked if we could try harder. She looked at me for a long time before answering. She said she had been trying for years. She was tired now. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. Part of me still thought this was temporary, that time would smooth it out like everything else. The divorce was clean, civil, almost polite. We divided things. We talked about the children. We didn't talk about the rest. There wasn't much left to say. What surprised me most wasn't the loss of the marriage itself. It was the aftermath, the silence, the way evenings stretched without shape, the way no one noticed whether I came home or not. I had prepared my whole life for productivity, not for absence. At first, I filled the time the same way I always had. Work, tasks, distractions, but they didn't land the same. There was no one waiting to hear about my day, no shared memory being built quietly in the background. Years passed by. We aged separately. The children grew and built lives of their own. I saw her occasionally at events. We were polite, careful. There was a kindness there, but not intimacy. That door had closed, and I didn't notice when the lock turned. The clarity came later, much later than I wish it had. It wasn't triggered by a single event. It arrived gradually, as clarity often does when there's no longer anything you can do with it. I started replaying moments, not the arguments, the pauses, the delays, the times I chose efficiency over presence, the nights I stayed busy instead of staying close, the way I assumed she would always be there, waiting for me to arrive emotionally when I was ready. That's the part that stays with me, the assumption. I treated time like a resource that couldn't run out, like something patient, something that understood my priorities and would wait its turn. Time doesn't do that. There are things that can't be fixed once they're missed. You don't get to return to the middle and choose differently. You don't get to have the conversation when both people are still willing. You don't get to be younger together again. I don't blame her. I don't even blame my younger self, not exactly. I see now that I wasn't malicious. I was distracted. I was certain there would be more time to show up fully. That certainty cost me everything that mattered most. Now, at this age, I live with the weight of that knowledge. It's not crushing, but it's constant. It sits with me when I make coffee, when I fold laundry alone, when I hear about someone celebrating a long marriage and feel something complicated instead of joy. What's gone is gone, not just the marriage, but the version of me that could have been present enough to keep it alive. That version existed once. I just didn't give him enough space to act. If you're listening to this, I don't know where you are in your life. I don't know what demands you're under. I only know what I believed and what it led to. I believed that showing up later was the same as showing up eventually. It isn't. I wish I had understood that being busy is not the same as being necessary, that providing is not the same as being close, that love doesn't erode loudly. It fades quietly when it's postponed too often. I'm not offering advice. I don't think people listen to advice anyway. I'm only sharing what I learned after it stopped being useful to me. If it resonates, that's enough. There are evenings now when I think about what our life might have looked like if I had sat down more often, if I had listened without glancing at the clock, if I had treated her presence as urgent instead of permanent. I don't dwell on it endlessly. There's no benefit in that. But I don't rush past it either. Some truths deserve to be felt fully, even when they arrive late. I have limited time left. I'm aware of that in a way I never was before. I spend it more carefully now, quieter, slower. I notice small things. I let conversations take their time. It's a strange thing to finally understand what matters when your chances to act on it are few. This is the truth of my life, not dramatic, not exceptional, just human. A long marriage lost not to anger or betrayal, but to delay, to the belief that there would always be another chance to show up. There wasn't.